So in this course, let's learn about C++. I'm using Visual Studio as a development environment. C++ has been there for more than 40 years for application programming for devices, embedded devices and application devices, and there's still no replacement. So C++ is a key skill if you are doing system programming, even for application programming under Windows. You can use the Microsoft version of C++, or if you are in Linux, it's still widely used in many of the embedded fields and for the application programming. So let's look into how C++ can be developed with Visual Studio. I'll be explaining about Visual Studio also. Here you see you can install Visual Studio, which is a community edition which comes free of cost. You go to this website, click on this community version, and you can download the community edition of Visual Studio. And with this Visual Studio you can develop a lot of other programming languages also, but here we'll just concentrate on C++, how to do development for C++. It's quite, the installation process quite straightforward. So once you download, there'll be a set of I think executable, which you just click and then follow the standard settings, and once you get those settings, you'll have this Visual Studio development environment where you can start to program like small C++ application which prints something in the console, or you can develop Windows applications which basically has a front end which have some buttons, and when you click this button something happens. So these things can be done. So now you see here the exe file which is getting downloaded, Visual Studio Community Edition, and this, when you double click, it will start to run a executable which will guide you through the installation process. So once installed, then you can open it like this, Visual Studio 2019, and then the Visual Studio opens up. And here you have different kinds of applications you can create. Open a project or solution is the first step, or you can create a new project based on this. And I create a console application. Here you see different applications you can create: Python, C#, SQL. Many types of applications can be created with this Visual Studio. So quite very good product of Microsoft. Community edition is free of cost and you don't have to spend anything. If you're a student or even a professional, you can just install it on your PC and then start developing applications in different programming languages. So here I have, you see that there are two types for C++. In this case is console application and Windows desktop application. So console application is the black window or the command prompt where the output will be printed on that command prompt, and Windows application is basically the Windows, that is you'll have a button, you'll have a so what do you say, the GUI front end, which instead of printing it directly on the console, if you press a button something will happen. So that's what we call Windows desktop application. So these are the two types which you can create in this case with Visual Studio. And I create a console application. It takes a default name for the project name, and it's and a specific location. So once you click create, after some time you will get this boilerplate code. You have a .cpp file and then a set of folders with header, resource and source files. So here you see you have a main function, which will be the, in C++ and C, it's the main is the starting point of any application, and std_cout is the way you print out the data to the console, and std::cout is the syntax, and you have header folder, the resource files and source files. So this is the basic thing, fundamental thing which you will start when you are developing C++ applications. The right side is the browser or the solution explorer, we call it, where all the files will be listed. And here when you click CPP, you will see the main function and external depend. These are all functions or files which is used by C++, standard files and folders which you will need for developing applications in C++. So this is what are referenced, and the external dependencies on the right side. And once you click the local window debugger, the green button, the application basically compiles. You'll see the output here, and then the command prompt will open with the .exe. So it will create a .exe file which will run on your Windows, and the hello world is printed, and the press key is that once it's executed, then it will ask for a prompt when you want to key. Then once you press the key, then this window will close. This is a very basic C++ application which we just developed, and it prints an output on the command prompt. You see the output window, you'll see the compilation process and the threads executed and stuff, which I'll explain later. But that's a very fundamental way of developing a console application. That is, it prints to a command prompt. Now I will look into another example, which is a Windows desktop application. You select, and the project name will be Windows project. You click create. Similar to console, it will create a boilerplate code for you. That is a basic structure, and then which you can. This is a bit complicated because it involves Windows, so it will be drawing the windows, and all these functionalities will be there. So this is comes to you default. So this, when you press this green button, it will execute, and the files are a bit more in this Windows project. Like for example, these I will explain more. These are the icon files or the image files which is used by the Windows. Once you click, it will go to this folder where you will see all the image related things like icons, buttons. All the icons will have an ID underscore, as you see ID1, and these IDs will be used in your C++ code, which you will see in the once I start explaining the code. Here you see the .cpp file, that's the main file. You have the boolean, which is it returns a init instance, returns a boolean, and once you click the run button, you'll be able to run it, and there are other functions also in this file. So once I'm clicking the run button, it first compiles. When you click run in C++, it first compiles, creates an executable, and this executable runs on your Windows operating system. Now you see a simple GUI application is created with file and help, and this default thing is there, over which you can build any Windows application which runs on Windows. So that's it about the two basic applications what we saw in Visual Studio's console application and a Windows application. This you can practice, and if you have questions, you can post it on my on the comment section, and then I will try to answer it. Thank you.